and you click on yourself, more, rename. Go to yourself, go to participants, and click on yourself and rename.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I just did that.
Why is it showing?
I think when you join, you don't realize what name, you might have last
It just
entered.
iPad's name for some reason. Done. And okay. Here.
Awesome. Awesome. So I think we're live right now. So hello, everybody. Welcome to Asian Queens in Animation's first panel. Today we have the art and journey of a character effects artist, and we are here with these three amazing women. We are here with Mira Arte from Frame Store, Amy Thomas from Industrial Light and Magic, and Pramita Mukherjee from DreamWorks. So hey, everyone, and thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for giving us a little chunk of your Sunday, but we are super excited to learn about your journey and also for the audience, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the YouTube chat. And then at the end, the last 20 minutes of this session, we will dedicate to answering your questions. So yeah, if everyone's good to go, we can start with diving into these questions.
Yep, good.
Awesome. So our first question is a little simple, but it's, what sparked your interest in character effects? And we can start with Amy, and then you can pick the next person to go.
All right. So people who've known me for a long time, they know I just love animals, and I've had so many pets growing up, and they were a huge part of my life. So I guess I used to spend a lot of time sort of like observing things like when my dog used to run around to fetch his ball, the way his muscles would move in and out, or the way my parrot's eye pupil would like dilate depending on how she felt. And I just wanted to like live in that world a little bit more. And as I started moving towards sort of this career in arts and visual effects, I was kind of watching the Narnia DVD, and this term creature technical director came up, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, and I was sort of in the crossroads then when I just finished sort of studying engineering, and I was starting to go into animation and film. So that's where I decided, okay, this is what I want to pursue.
Wow, that's so cool. And yeah, it's like at the end of movies, that's where you see like all the different types of jobs, and you're like, whoa, I didn't know this was a thing.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But awesome. So Mira, do you want to go next?
Yeah. Where should I start? So, so character effects came a bit later. I finished college. I knew I wanted to do something creative. I actually did engineering. But I did not want to program. And I think my father totally freaked out when he realized that I want to do something creative. And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't do this. So I got into computer graphics. I did a diploma in computer graphics, and I got a job at a studio in Mumbai. It was called Crest. And they were hiring freshers, and I did a lot of jobs. I mean, I was a render angler. I tried my hands at layout. I tried my hands at modeling and, small things. And finally, they had a show called Bratz. It's about dolls. And
yes.
My niece used to watch that.
Terrible. Oh my God.
I used to watch that too.
Really? I feel old. Oh my God. And for some reason, the studio decided that they would hire freshers to, create this hair department. It was not even called character effects. It was called the hair department. And I was put onto that because I was one of these, freshers they didn't know what to do with. And I got into that. And the show ran for a while. It was a year and a half long, a lot of episodes. And that's how I got into it. But I still wanted to be an animator. I still didn't want to, do this full time because it was just hair on that show. And then I got into animation, etc. And then DreamWorks came to town, and they were hiring for their India studio. And I applied as an animator, but the animation supervisor who was interviewing me said, you're not there yet. Your animation's not really, feature level. So, and we're looking for that. And I said, okay. And then he asked me about these shots that I had in my reel, which were about the hair simulation that I'd done on Bratz. And he said, what about this animation? And I said, oh, sadly, that's not mine. I've just done the hair simulation on that. And he was like, okay, we are looking for somebody in character effects. Would you like to give that a shot? And I was like, oh, what is character effects? And he explained it to me, like hair, fur, the cloth that the characters wear. And I said, if Crest asked me to do it, maybe I wouldn't, but for DreamWorks, maybe I will. And that's how it started. I mean, they hired me. I did a technical interview and they hired me, and I was doing character effects. And I stuck to it because it was not just hair, it was a lot more interesting than that. And turned out I was good at it. So
Yeah, that's
how I
awesome.
started. Pramita.
Yeah, Pramita.
So mine pretty much similar to Mira's, I'll say.
Because we started at Crest.
Yeah, we started at Crest, and I started in 2007. I was super young. I was only 19 years old. And I started as a rigger. I used to be a chart ED, like rigger in those days. I didn't even know the chart ED term existed in the world.
Till DreamWorks. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have no idea what is CFX, like absolutely no idea. So I was a hardcore rigger for 6-7 years, and then same how DreamWorks came in the town, and then I actually applied for chart ED as they called it, and I got rejected very first time. At that point of time, they said me that if you have to apply for a chart ED in DreamWorks, you need to know Python. I'm like, what is Python? No clue what is Python. All I knew was mail, and that's all I knew, because I do not come from a computer background. I'm a self-taught coder because I used to do rigging, right? So I was like, okay, so I don't know Python, so I cannot be a chart ED in DreamWorks at this point. So what is the next closest department to rigging that you can? I just wanted to find out. And the recruiter was like, why don't you try for CFX? I'm like, okay, what is CFX? So then she said me it's about cloth, hair, fur, and anything, any effects you put on creature, something like that. Well, the good part about being a rigger was, like, when you don't have a creature effects department in a company, being a rigger, you develop the setups for everything, may it be cloth, may it be hair, may it be anything. So only difference was I never did anything in motion. I'm an asset developing department, right? So I had no eye for motion at the very beginning. So that was my challenge that I had to face. So I was like, okay, cool. So I passed the technical stuffs and all that. But when it came to shop work, I was like, okay, great. I have never done this before. I have only developed setups and I have no clue what I'm doing. It was hard for me, I'll be honest. It was hard for me initially to kind of cope up with CFX. But eventually I realized that this is probably a department where I get to build a setup and also implement the setup in my own way in the shot. That is why I got stuck to it for years and I never moved back to rigging. So that's how I grew my interest. I'm okay, I get to build it and I get to run it in my own shots. This is great. So yeah, I took some time to build for Eye of Motion, but then now it's okay. Now I love it. So that's how.
Yeah. And I think like character effects is that kind of department where it's very experimental and challenging. So it's like every project is like a new thing. So it's like you can't, it's very hard to get bored because there's so many new challenges, which I think is so interesting. And so I guess I'll hop off to the next question. So this is a little bit more of a serious question, which is, was there a situation where you were the only woman or even the only woman of color on a team? And how was that experience for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we can get started with you again, Pramita, if you want.
Well, see, when I started as a rigger, there used to be very few female riggers in any company. Even today, the number is really, really less. I remember I started at 19, so I was an intern, of course, and there was just 2 riggers in the team of 20, 2 female riggers in the team of 20. They were really nice. They were really nice, very supportive. They taught me everything, and I was shy. I was like, I didn't know what to know. I had no idea what I'm doing because I learned everything in the process of production. Like institutes
on the
back
job.
those days, on the job. Yeah, institutes back those days are not like today's. Like, proper graduation.
Especially in India. I mean.
Especially in India, yeah. Especially from where we come from.
Yeah,
It was just, oh, this is the light box. You do 2D animation. This is Maya. This is modeling. This is joint.
Revolve.
Revolve, and that's it. But then, yeah, so I learned everything on job. I was lucky to have 2 really, really good female riggers in my team who kind of literally mentored me, taught me how to place a joint, what is an orientation and everything. I was lucky. But eventually when I grew with age, I grew with, I changed companies and all, things got harder. In CFX, you will have more women compared to rigging. But when I was in rigging, it was really tough because there was a point when I was the only girl in the team. both of them left and it was just a team of men. It was difficult for me to cope up because there are discussions, there are topics, there are things which I'm not a part of, not intentionally, but that's
But
how
it
the
happens.
world is. It happens. And no matter how much we say, women, and all of that,
you need other women.
Exactly. You need other women. And let's be honest, this is still the fact. Much better, much better. But I'm talking about 2010.
And it's, the industry is more male oriented. So
absolutely. And in India, imagine it's not a very polished industry. All right. So people talk, which you might be like, how are you talking to me? It might be offensive, but you have to understand that industry, it's not very polished. So these things are okay with men, but when you talk to a woman, that too, I was in my early 20s at that point. So I was like, okay, what is happening? Like, it's not very, I was not comfortable all the time. I was like low on confidence. I didn't know what I was doing, even though I was very good with my job. But I was like, okay, am I doing it right? Because there was no appreciation. All these things never came. Like, if you do good, nobody said you're doing good. You have to like keep proving yourself again and again. No, this is good because it is working good. I was lucky because as a rigger, the rig testers whom I had at that point, they were really, really very nice. So all the time I got my feedbacks from them, like the animators who used to test my rigs, they were great. So yeah, it's difficult. I'm lucky not to have a color issue. I never really faced anything to my color. I was really lucky with that because probably I left India after a while when I was quite old in the industry. So maybe that's, but being young, my issues were separate. My issues was being the only woman who is a part of team officially, but mentally and emotionally, nobody really, bothered or cared at that point. Yeah. To the work I really did. Maybe I did way better than others, but I was the first one to be, asked to go when there was a recession, stuff like that. So yeah, you have to face all these things, but these are good things. These are things that make you stronger for your future. So I would always take this as learnings, but yeah, it was,
like in any situation in VFX, I mean, especially rigging, like Pramita said, like I started as well as a rigger, and there are very, very few female riggers and female riggers of color at the time. Like literally there was no one around. So yeah, definitely I found that, in such a low diversity sort of environment, you will feel isolated. I felt extremely isolated. I wasn't very successful in getting mentors either for myself. So I kind of had to, learn everything the hard way, mostly making a lot of mistakes. And so one of the things that the way I sort of got through that was I just developed thicker skin. And I just told myself, look, you're learning. It doesn't matter what people think. You have to do this for yourself. So I just took it as like, this is a part of my learning journey. It's part of me building up an improvement. And I'm glad that I didn't let any of that sort of get to me and kind of exit, because right now I'm really happy with the sort of work that I do. And, I'm actually really enjoying being a CFX artist, but the journey definitely as a woman, and I've been alone. And like, even when I did engineering, it was like a low number of women in that group. And then when you go to visual effects and, particularly creature effects, again, it's a low number of women. You do just get used to it as well, and you internalize a lot of that. And especially if there's like lots of immature sort of behavior, in an all boy sort of thing, comments, and you just learn to you just try to survive, ignore it, and just try to develop a thicker skin and just tell us, they're just stupid, they don't know what they're saying,
It's hard, but you have to if you want to survive.
I mean, you don't have a choice, right?
You don't have a choice.
What's your options like?
Like even I think when I joined DreamWorks, I was the first girl to be hired. They hired about 12 artists initially in the first round of recruitment, and I was the only girl. Also the only CFX person at that point, because it was just the beginning. This was in 2008. It was hard. I mean, it just boys. Then like you said, Amy. I mean, it's not intentional. Nobody's trying to hurt you, but they're just insensitive. They're boys. They're cracking their silly jokes. That boy gangs were going out and smoking, and these are small things, but it is isolating because you're the only one who's not doing any of those things, and because you're one in say so many, men tend to forget that there's a girl around. There are some things that I wasn't comfortable with. I mean nobody was making like remarks to me as such, but just about women in general, I don't want to hear those jokes.
Yeah, it's if you're not directed against you, it
Yeah,
does
yeah,
make
but
you
it's
feel
just like,
devalued.
yeah, exactly. And I'm like, if you're talking about women, or you're talking about stuff about other women, I mean, I don't want to hear it. I don't find it funny.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing that helped me was that I was the management at that time who hired the team was very sensitive. Joe Aguilar and Adi Shayan, they were the head of studio and studio manager. They were really supportive, and they were very sensitive to the fact that there's only one girl. So that helped, but it's not easy, of course. I mean, there will be situations that will be uncomfortable, but you just suck it up and you think, okay, you know what, I'm here for the job. It was a great opportunity for me to to work in DreamWorks. They sent us to Glendale for training. I mean, it was first of its kind in India, and I was going to work on feature films. That was the dream. I mean, that was what I joined the industry for. So you just ignore what you can, filter.
Yeah, I just also want to shout out to, like, there were male colleagues as well who were obviously very kind and took time out of their
Yeah,
day.
exactly. I agree. Yeah,
And
I agree. I mean, I
can't-
made great friends.
yeah,
They were
Not
really
every-
nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Not
but I would have
everybody
liked,
is like that.
yeah, I
Yeah.
would have liked, obviously would have liked a broader, better
More.
environment, and also just to have like a mentor, just somebody I know I could be safe with.
Yeah,
And
or
that
also,
was something-
like some girls around, just somebody to talk
Oh,
to.
and
and
definitely women, just having more women.
just have more women around. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's just something about even like in schools, like when you have a woman as a professor, it just feels safe. You feel good. Like it's different than when you have a man as your professor.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
a bad thing. It's just
Yeah. But you can
just feel
trust
more
that person
comfortable.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your comfort
Trust the
zone
woman.
is
Simple as that.
Mhm. But I think the next question sort of like jumps off of what you were saying, which is despite there being fewer Asian women when you started, and in those times where you felt like this, where you felt limited, like what kept you motivated to keep growing further and further to get where you are today?
That just makes you motivated even more, right? You don't see anybody else like you. You're just like, why? Like I want to be one of those people at least, sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I could have had a better start, like I said, with experiences in the industry. But I didn't want to also get this feeling like I didn't want anyone to tell me or for me to feel on my own that I couldn't get this done, despite of like what was going on or anything like that. I wanted to succeed and and hopefully hope that somebody else who would. I was sure that there would be somebody else just like me coming along, and if they ever saw someone getting ahead in the industry a little bit, that would inspire them as well. So yeah.
I think for me it was the work. I mean, I think I joined the industry looking at animation movies, and I was like, I want to work on that. And Pixar and DreamWorks were just, I mean, Pixar more than DreamWorks, but that was the work. I mean, it was ultimate. I mean, I loved those movies. So for me, it was just that I couldn't get over the fact that I was working for DreamWorks. It was just that, oh my God, I finally have the opportunity. It doesn't, it's even now I mean, there is work that goes to India, but it's not the same as, working from London. I mean, I know the kind of work that goes to India, even from Frame Store, and it's not the same. Like, it's so different to be on the other side. And I've been on that side for a long time. And it's just that the work is so good. That's what I wanted to do. And it just kept me going, thinking that, okay, just it's fine. It was hard. I mean, I struggled for a good 2 years, even in DreamWorks, because I wasn't really a trained character effects artist. But yeah, it was just the work, I think.
Yeah, it's the same for me as well, because for me, I used to see these cartoons when I was really small, like Spider-Man and X-Men, like every day before going to school. That's what I used to see. And I used to see the address, Burbank, California, okay, at the end of the day. I never dreamt of coming to literally Burbank, California and working for those. Like that was ever I thought about it. But then it's the work, right? Once you are into it, I actually didn't want it to come to animation. It was my parents. I could draw. I actually wanted to go for engineering. But my father was like, why don't you give it a try?
Opposite.
Yeah.
My father was like, why don't you give this a try? This is something new, something that people, don't do. This is 2006. So I was like, okay, why not? And then once I started, I was like, okay, I never imagined that you can create your own stuff, like, and it's coming to life. And that's it. After that, I never really thought back of going to any other profession. And it was like Mira said, like, even though you have a lot of hardships as a woman, as a girl, everybody will try to take you down. That's a fact. Like in different emotional aspects, if you're really good with your work, people will try to trigger your emotions. If you're not good with your work, then that's it. They will point out every mistake you do. This is a fact. But even after all that, if you're really passionate about what you want to do, if the work really inspires you, and for me, I was like, initially I was really down. I was like, okay, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I should do something else. But then, that age also plays a role. And then in that age, I was like, okay, screw it. If this is what it is I'm doing, I have to be the best. It's true that I lost my self-confidence so many times, but then again, the work was so inspiring. I had to prove to myself first that, no, I'm still the best. And then there are phases, but yeah, if you have good work, job satisfaction, if you have that, I think everything else is secondary. Like if you're happy with what you're creating at the workspace, that's the best thing to drive. Definitely.
Yes. And as women, we are more emotional. I mean, whether we like it or not.
Yeah,
it's very rare that you will find somebody who understands that. Like I used to be confident when I was in Crest because I could see that my work was pretty decent. But when I asked for more money, confidently, I was told that I have a superiority complex. And that brought me down. And I was like, do I have a superiority complex? I don't even know what that is. I mean, I was just asking for more money because you promoted me. So then doesn't it mean that I should make more money if I'm taking on more work, So it just, of course, a lot of things that you will face only sadly because you're a woman.
Yeah. Even today.
Yeah. Even today.
Even today, especially like you were saying, like when you're stern and assertive, they say you're being bossy or you're being to this thing. And it's like, we're just trying to be equal.
I mean, if a man is assertive and aggressive, then he's a leader. If a woman is, then she's bossy, just like you said. I mean, and it is true. And I've seen it so many times and it's sad, but that's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, being a woman, you have to prove yourself
much more. Yeah.
Much more. I want to be the lead, or I want to be a supervisor, or I want to be in any managerial roles. I have to give 100 proofs at why I'm capable of that position compared to a man. I would be asked. So just because I'm a woman, and there is no explanation to this, but unfortunately, the society still.
It is true. It is true.
And do you think? Oh, sorry.
No, it's go on.
I was going to say, do you think also being a woman of color, does that make it even more pressure to do better, to get those kind of leader roles?
Well, honestly, I didn't face it.
Yeah, even me. I think we've been lucky. Yeah, I haven't faced that.
Yeah, but
I don't know about Amy. If you
in particular, no, I didn't feel discriminated, if that is what the question is leading towards. No, I've never felt discriminated because of my color personally, in my personal experience. So I'm lucky that way. But yeah, it's like I said, it's mostly the fact I did feel very strongly, and even though I didn't realize it then, just being in an environment that was not diverse enough, and just not having other women around. I really missed that. Like when I think the first time I actually worked in sort of a balanced environment is when I met Pramita at DNEG, and I was like, there's like enough women and men were like balanced there, and I was so happy because it's like, wow, I get to actually sit with girls and express my
coffee
and be a girl. I mean, that's it.
Yeah, if I'm
you don't have to be one of the boys.
Exactly. Like so it's and also just things like beer o'clock, that sort of it's part of the VFX culture. That's this whole thing of like going out and drinking and being with the guys and stuff like that. And I to be honest with you, like I participated in all of that stuff as well personally, but it was just not fulfilling. And I just felt really angry that this is my only way to network. Like, why doesn't anybody want to go out and like do an escape room or do something else fun? Why does everything have to revolve around standing around and drinking beer? So I guess that's I guess a cultural thing as well, because I obviously, we don't grow up in like strong drinking cultures. It's not part of our,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that for me was like, well, doesn't anybody like to go out and have dinner sometime and just sit and talk
Yeah.
about
Yeah, let's eat some food.
Yeah, I mean, I found a lot of resistance
Just
weirdly.
walk.
Like ice cream and,
Yeah, exactly. Let's go have ice cream.
Well, yeah, I totally agree to Amy in this thing. Like, probably we didn't face discrimination on color, but culturally,
yeah.
it's a big difference, because when I stepped out of India for the first time and I went to London, I was like, okay, first I have to get used to the culture. Nobody is not accepting me, but it's a
Yeah.
big change for me. Like, I have to learn their
Yeah.
culture. I have to learn the local things, which I'm not
Yeah.
aware of. Because
Mm.
if I wanna, this is something that I face in US much more than I faced in London,
Yeah.
because there are so many shows or so many cultural things. If I'm coming from the East, my knowledge is probably just Hollywood or news
Limited
or
to,
media.
yeah,
Limited.
of course.
Yeah. So you come here and then you realize, oh, what are they talking about?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
I'm the only
Completely, I agree.
only
Yeah,
person
because
from the
we've grown
outside.
up in India, like some of us,
Yeah.
we've grown up in India,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
the things that we grew up with, they don't know about,
Exactly. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
and
but-
vice versa, right? I mean, so it can be a bit, yeah. I think we can talk about it when I think you have a question like that. I think
Yeah,
something
sure.
of,
Like I was just gonna say, like, add on to that, like even the littlest things like feel so weird. Like when I first moved from India to US, things like the Fahrenheit and like
Oh,
the inches
Yeah.
and like miles, that was
Yeah.
also, and like the way even before we started the live stream, like the way you pronounce things, like in British English and American English, it's all like these little things also add on to that kind of cultural shock.
it's
And
a big thing.
yeah, and especially like this is how like the sun sets, the time change, with a 1
Yeah.
hour back, all of those like
daylight
it's so
saving. Yeah.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, daylight saving. Like, I didn't even know what is that.
I didn't know what that was either. I just one day woke up and I'm just like, why am I waking 1 hour early? Or like,
Yeah. There are a lot of things like that. Yeah.
So I guess more than the color, it's the cultural and the, like the life difference that you're going to feel if you're, kind of, and also I think opportunities, like in today's day, still Asia is doing really great, but like 10 years back, the opportunities that you have in the West are way, way, way more than that what we have in the East.
Yeah.
Like even today, half the people in Asia might not know what is animation or how good it is or what are the benefits of going into it. It's much better.
How to get into it.
How to get into it. Yeah. Why to get into it. But yeah, the awareness and the opportunities are still way, way more than in
Much
West.
less. Definitely.
That's another big thing. Like,
yeah. And hopefully people watching this now will know that there's opportunities like this. And there are awesome Asians, Asian women, South Asian women, everyone in the industry. So you also have a place in the industry too. And I think just touching on like what you guys were talking about how your work motivated you, I just wanted to ask, what was the first film you watched where you saw your name on the credits? Like, and how did you feel? Were you like in the theater, like, oh my God, that's me? Or
Can I go first?
of course, Mira.
So it's a funny story because so I was sent to the US in 2009, I think, to work on Shrek 4. And before that, we hadn't done a feature film in India, in the Indian studio. We were still doing TV shows and DVD featurettes, they were called. So I went to work on Shrek 4, biggest dream come true. I worked there for a few months, and I came back, but I didn't know if I was going to get credit, because every studio has this minimum time that you spend on a show, whether the artist gets credit or not. And they had a screening in India, and I'm literally sitting with my fingers crossed because I had no idea, because obviously it was a big deal to me because it was the first feature that I worked on, and I really didn't know if they were going to be nice enough to give me credit, and they did. So it was a feeling that I won't forget. It was amazing. And because we were watching with all our colleagues, and it was friends and everybody who knew you, people were cheering whenever they saw a familiar name. So it was a very big deal. And, I felt, my God, out of this world, worth it. All the struggles were worth it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dude,
wow.
yeah,
Great.
So I don't know, so I really wanted to work. I had this, just like how I was very sure I wanted to be a character effects 3D, I knew I wanted to work on The Hobbit after watching Lord of the Rings. So I made a pact that I would show up in New Zealand in time for the production. And I managed to work it out, and I managed to work on that film, even though I was like quite junior and in ATV and like helping things out and stuff. When my name came on the credits, like I literally cried in the theater. I was like, wow, that's how you make dreams come true. This is
It's amazing.
So,
The feeling is amazing.
yeah. So for me, that is, I'll never forget that.
But well done. You made it like that. I didn't know which movie I would work on, but well done.
That's great.
Pramita.
So, yeah, for me, my first DreamWorks movie was Penguins of Madagascar. So honestly, before that, there were movies. There was something called, there was one called Alpha Omega, and there were stuffs, but also feature films. But then I was happiest, like Mira said, DreamWorks used to be a big, big, big thing at that point in time. Because like I said, right, we used to see a dress in the television series, and you can never imagine that a company from there. Literally it's an opportunity. Like I mentioned, it was the biggest opportunity for every Indian, professional in animation to get a chance to be a part of DreamWorks movies. Because we never think that visa and everything will work out, and they will even take us from the other side of the world to work in the actual studio. That's a dream. Honestly. So I was very happy to see my name in Penguins of Madagascar. I was like, okay, that's me. I didn't have to do that, honestly, because we were all sitting with the premieres used to be with our office people. So everybody knows that the name is there, but still I was like, okay, that's my name.
Yeah, but everybody's cheering. It was just a fantastic feeling.
It's a very encouraging and super, super amazing moment. So I will always remember that.
Yeah.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I think
you do decide, it'll be amazing.
Yes. I can't even imagine, like I'm interning on a show right now, and I was watching the previous season and I saw the intern's name on there, and I'm like, what if I'm like, my name is on the next thing? Like that'll be my first credit. But it's so amazing just thinking about it. So I can't imagine how you felt when you even saw your name, and it's especially like on a big screen, that must have been like
And it's amazing, because your family will go and they will watch and they will try to search your name. It's really sweet. Very humbling.
Credit is something, that's the reward. Like that is
exactly. Yeah, that's the reward.
All the night shifts and day shifts and overtimes and crazy mental stress and work ends up to that little credit that you get on the screen. So it's a very nice feeling to see it.
Yes, and just before we go to the next question and before the audience questions, like my parents, whenever we used to go to movies, like before we even thought about animation, they would always look at the credits and be like, oh, look, that's an Indian name.
I think we all do it. Yeah,
we still do it.
I'm like that with my family, 100%.
And then they'll be like, oh, look at that. That's an Indian name. Oh, look at that. So people do read it.
Yeah. My sister and I used to do it. We do it even now.
Yes, and it's like a motivation, like, oh, one day my name will be there too.
Yeah.
But awesome. Before we head on to see if the audience has any questions, I think we'll just ask a little filler question for people who are interested in character effects. Is what kind of programs do you suggest people to learn before or when they're applying for character effects roles?
What do you mean by programs?
Just like Houdini or like Maya and like those kind of softwares.
Honestly, it depends on the company, like what they're using, on the studio, what they're using. But currently, if you see the world, it's Maya and Houdini. That's what the world is up to. I'm not sure what they teach in the institute at this point, but if you're really interested to go into CFX, it's better to know both because the concepts and the logics are same. It's just the implementation of that software that is the difference. So you should be flexible because studios changes, right? You're not going to work in that studio with that software forever.
Also, so studios have their own tools.
Yes, they have their own tools. So so you do have the concept very clear, like whether it be.
I think Maya is the basic. Maya is basic, quite universal. So that
And
is a must, obviously. I'm sure they teach Maya, obviously, or you do your projects in Maya. Houdini is upcoming for a lot of things, and it's a big plus on your CV if you know Houdini. And
Carbon or any of those.
Carbon, or even doing fur. A lot of studios are doing fur, and I think ILM has its own tools, isn't it? They have their own proprietary.
It does, yeah. It has its own proprietary tools for CFX.
Yeah, so
that's, I mean, I agree. Like knowing a DCC really well, anyone, even if it's Maya, Houdini, or a little bit of both, it's good. I think eventually you have to sort of start with specializing a little bit, but always keep a mindset of being able to generalize, because I think you have to, as one of the important skills you need as a creature DD is knowing how to solve your problems, no matter what DCC you're in front of. If you're, you get Houdini, it's like Pramita said, like you should understand, you should have a higher level understanding of material properties and, the way muscles contract and restrict, and like whatever field it is, whatever discipline of creature effects you're going into, just understanding that at a higher level. And then whatever's in front of you, whether it's Maya, whether it's proprietary software, whether it's Houdini, it's just, accept that there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, if it's new, and just try to implement those concepts in. So try to have more of a generalist mindset, because I think that's sort of where eventually the industries are going to, I think that's where we're going.
Yeah, it's not static. Like, you just use what you feel is the best for that need of the project. So you have to have your concepts clear. So the programs that makes your concept clear is way more. Like Mira said, Maya is definitely, because Maya has been going on for a long time, right? So you have a lot of tutorials, you have a lot of, all your questions are answered by someone or the other at some point of time. So I guess.
Good point.
The
information is out there. Yeah.
Exactly. So have your concepts and logics clear, and then it's just an application. Software is just an application of your concept, so that you will be trained to. But
oh, sorry.
Go on.
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say, and some people don't know that sometimes studios stick with a certain software like number. Like for example, like Maya 2018. Some studios still stick with that kind of standardized thing. Yeah. So do you recommend people trying to learn from that, or like downloading like Maya 2020, or like even Houdini, like Houdini 18 is out, but a lot of studios still use Houdini 17. So do you think it's a major difference trying to learn those? Because I know there's little bit of differences in the utilization of tools.
Yeah, I mean,
what do you think of that?
I mean, I just think, again, just be prepared to like adapt to whatever is there. Whatever version of your whatever version of Houdini or Maya you learn, just whatever workflow you're doing, just understand that really well, the inside outs and how it comes together. And yeah, it shouldn't really matter. Yes, your studio might just be stuck in using Houdini 15 and suddenly tomorrow they'll change to 2020. I don't think that really matters. I think it's just, you should always come into CFX, especially with a super adaptable mindset.
I think that's right. I mean, it will change. Even a lot of studios do update on every project. But once you know one version, it's easy to learn. It just gets better or easier. The tool. So then I think you can any normal person can adapt. So just
I mean,
don't be worried about that.
Yeah, I guess
about knowing the latest.
Yeah, if you're a student, you're not into any studio, probably you will learn what's out in the market, right? Not depending what studios are using, because sometimes studios stick to older versions because they have their proprietary tools, which takes time to update.
Yeah.
It might break if you're using it into the latest version. It might not support. That's the only reason. Otherwise, it's always good to move ahead, right? Because you have better stuff. But yeah, that's like both of them said, it's not a matter to be concerned about, because
don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's okay. You will get professional studio.
So right now, we don't see any questions in the chat, but if you do have questions, guys, feel free to put it in there. And before the session, I did ask a couple of character effects artists from my school if they had any questions. So one question someone had is, when you're looking at reels to hire someone into the team, what are some do's and don'ts that you like to point out so people know?
Do's and don'ts?
Mm-hmm.
I would say put your best work. Only put your best work. Don't put things that are not so great, because why do you want to show that,
And describe exactly what part you
what you
played.
did. Do breakdowns. Yeah, do breakdowns. If you have before and after, perfect.
Yeah.
Before CFX, after
Yeah.
CFX,
I guess,
then
sorry, I
go
just
ahead.
starting out. I think showing some personal work is always good, because in school and you do get the opportunity to do personal as well as group work, and then sort of documenting that down, the whole process, I think is really good. Like if you don't just submit a reel, I would suggest even submit a blog, and then sort of document your entire journey of how you came to make that clip or the model or your inspiration. And, I think that really helps, because it then shows that, you really understand what you've done, and that you're very reliable if you were given similar sort of work.
Yeah, like if I see a CFX reel, I would probably, when students are presenting their CFX reel, they have a general tendency to get the body track animations from internet. So those animations are actually really realistic, like hyper realistic and really good. So there, the cloth, it will be good. It's nice to see free and flowing cloth solvers today on realistic characters, but then I will suggest try to have something animated as well, meaning like some snappy animation out there in your reel. So that is when you truly show your, like how good the solver or how good you are with the properties if you're trying to show your cloth sim or hair sim skills. So that's an added advantage if you have some cartoony or some animated stuff apart from the body tracks or mocaps or stuff like that, those data. So that is one good thing to have. And then, yeah, like both of them said, like always put your best work. Like there is no point in showing something that you're not sure of. And more crisp, the better.
But short.
Yeah,
It doesn't
more
have to be
crisp,
very
the
long,
better.
because
Yeah,
people will
yeah.
lose interest.
Yeah, and since it's a CFX reel, you might have two cloths, one realistic, one animated. You have hairs along with that, and groom is secondary. It doesn't have to be always a part of CFX reel, because you have different groom departments, and obviously creatures if you want to show muscles and skin slides and all of that. So have one good creature. I think that is pretty much what CFX sums up to, especially if it's a student's reel. That's more than good.
Mm-hmm.
You can always have details like facial setups, like facial skinnings and all of that, and complex fur and cloth interactions and all of that. But I guess in a student's reel, that's too complex. You can go wrong. That creates a bad impression. So stick to your best work and neat work. That's what is a good thing to have in your portfolio.
Yeah, don't have any broken stuff in there.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Awesome.
complex is not always the best thing, honestly. Your reels can be simple, neat, and nice, and be picked up easily.
Yeah, that's great. And what if there's someone who's interested in character effects but doesn't know where to start? What do you suggest them to do as their first step?
Well, he should try everything, because character effects has a lot of aspects, right? Cloth, hair, muscles, fur, etc. He should try all of it and see what interests him the most. It is not necessary that one person will be excellent in every sphere, right? So maybe he can see what interests him the more, and then
try those things out.
Yeah, and kind of dive deep and see what is the best for him. And then he himself will realize, like, okay, this is my area. This is what I like to sim cloth more. I like to sim hair more. I like to sim muscle, whatever. And then just go deep and deep into that. And then you know where to start, right? If you're confident about one section, you can have little knowledge about others, and that's how you sell yourself. Because clearly you don't do all the things in one time. No, you don't do that. So I guess that's a good way to do.
I guess another way to look at it is just think about, like, if you had this as a job full time, what kind of reference would you like looking at all day? Like, would you want to look at cloth all day? In my case, I have to look at a lot of cadavers, muscles. And sometimes some of the reference I have to look at really gross, because I have to look at how, muscles constrict, and, bones and like dead bodies and things like that. So it just depends, like, see what you have the stomach, what you're interested in. Personally, I actually, not that I enjoy looking at cadavers, but I do like the outcome of it. I just like seeing my simulations do stuff, like anatomy just working out correctly the way that I've been able to copy from nature. But like, I do get bored if I look at cloth too much. So it's like, oh, this is boring. I don't know how things drape, so yeah, it just depends. Like, you find your personal interest, what you would like to do day in and day out and under pressure, and focus on that to start with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we do actually have a couple questions coming in. So the first one is, are any of you planning to move into upper management in the future for character effects?
I think all of us.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pramita and I are both, I don't know about you, Mira, because I've not worked with you, but like, I think we've both been leads. But I am trying to obviously move up, not just because I want to like dictate like how work should be done, but also I think there's a need for people like us to be part of management roles, just to change, to change sort of dialogue. Yeah, there's a lot of change that's needed, and I'm not quite happy when I look up at leadership in general, and I'm not like happy with what's happening so far. And even though there are a lot of people taking up, like ILM, for example, has a very strong diversity program going on right now. We've actually had several like company meetings just talking about diversity, which is very refreshing. So something like that, like I just want to be able to move up there and try to facilitate change in my own way if it's possible. And that's sort of a big motivation factor for me to keep moving up. But yeah, my dream is to become a visual effects supervisor. So let's see what happens in the next 10 years if I make it, but we'll see.
Yeah, you will, Amy.
Sure, it's been hard so far.
So what about you, Pramita? Do you want to be a visual effects supervisor too at some point?
The answer is yes, a big yes, honestly. The thing is, like Amy said, like when I look up to things, I was like, you know what, this could have been done this way. This could have been done this way. Or maybe it's like, I love taking more work responsibilities. That is something I love to do. And then, like she said, it's not about saying people how to do your job, but it's just to, kind of have that feeling that, okay, I'm delivering something really good with so many people being happy and doing their best working in the show. That's like even as a lead, I used to always try to make sure that the people working in the project, they're happy with what they're doing. They get their whole credit, and they're not like, I have felt it many times working under leads and under supervisors that I'm not credited or appreciated enough for the amount of work that I have done. I do not want anybody else to feel that if I'm kind of looking after something. Like, it doesn't matter if my name shows up as a lead or as a supervisor or anything, but I want others working in that show to be really happy. So that is my, goal. And I would love to have that one day, for sure.
Yeah, like since you've been in those positions, you want to lead the way you wish you were led, in a way, sort of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, the VFX model is not very fair when it's broken, I guess some would say. And I think it requires more diversity starting to, sort of spread into the upper echelons to sort of, balance things out a bit. I think they need different point of views as well. And it's like Pramita says, like there are times when you look up and like, could have done it that way. Do you have to throw somebody in the deep end and make them suffer? Like you can
that's not how it works.
Yeah. Do you want your workers to like, have to work after 6 and 7 and not see their families? Is there something you could have done to, help them out? Or that's a big conversation, the visual effects industry in general.
Yeah. Just because women have to balance their family as well as their work, they cannot really extend overtime till 11 o'clock in the night. That doesn't mean they're not efficient or capable enough of leading a position. You know what I mean? Because men can give that time. Women can't, because they have to balance their personal life as well. But that doesn't question their capability. It's not about how much time you're sitting at the work and doing your job. That doesn't prove your management skills. Right?
Exactly.
So, that is something I think we should be considerate about as well. So these are questions that comes up when a woman tries to lead. Like, how much time will you be able to give? You have to probably go home and take care of your child or family or whatever. What if the deadlines you don't meet and, stuff like that?
I mean, you don't have to necessarily have kids and family either. Like,
it's just personal time.
Women, like, I think one thing I would love, I mean, this is, I guess, I don't know if it's the right thing to say, but like, for example, PMS is, some people have it really bad for women, and we still have to come to work and we still have to work through that, and like, am I allowed to take a break? Like, I've thought, like, can companies advocate? There are some companies that actually let women have like a day off a month for it. But then you think about it, like, then there's going to be another inequality discussion about, well, men don't have that, so then men don't get a day off. So I think generally people should like, the industry really needs to take care of their workers a bit more. And personally, we all should be looking after each other as well. And I think one of the most important things I would like at least, to keep talking about is just trying not to be so insular, because what I found growing up through this industry is that, like, not especially we were that pocket of people that joined when I joined, like, say Better, for example. Most of the people there were like software developers who they wrote half the tools I was writing, and they were the TDs as well. And I was sort of in this pocket of knowledge. Oh, I have to learn this proprietary stuff. Like, I've got to ask them. There's no way I can like go home and read a book about this. Then you kind of stuck. And whereas you start to be very dependent on people, and then right now though you find that like people can actually, there's so much more information out there. Even proprietary softwares are now packaged and they're available for public use, and everything's out there for you to learn and study. So I just feel like having that sort of voice amongst all of this, for all these experiences that I had, like having that now, especially at the upper up, when I've kind of moved up and I'm in a more senior position now, I feel like having that sort of voice is important for the diversity. It's not just about like getting good work out there. You have to take care of people, and I think people should be collaborative. People should be talking to each other about what problems they're facing, and especially women. Like, I'd like to see more like communities like this come together.
Yeah.
Awesome. And we do have another question that relates to working from home. So someone has a question about how has it been working from home, and how has that impacted the production process, especially since a lot of your work relies on the tech. So how has that been?
Maybe Mira.
It's been good, I think. It's been perfectly fine. In fact, I think I'm glad I don't have to commute all the way to work.
Yeah.
There's no, I need to catch a train, I need to catch the tube. Just fine. I think the only thing that's missing is seeing your team, which also happens. I mean, when you go for your reviews or your dailies, I mean, you do meet people. In fact, I find that I've probably bonded better with my supervisors through video rather than, going to a dark room and just listening to their voices. So it's been pretty good actually, and it's been a treat because it was never allowed before because of the content that we work on.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was in our industry, it's always been like, oh, there's no work from home,
Yeah.
you can't do 4 days at the office, 1 day at home, there's no, I'll leave at 4 o'clock and do the rest 2 hours at home. There's never been that. So it's been a real treat actually. And as long as you have good internet, I think it's been okay, because you're just remotely signing into a machine at work. So yeah, it's been pretty good for me.
Yeah, and actually yesterday I was talking to someone who mentioned that this kind of opens doors for being able to go, like, for example, like when you have family in India, you can go and, like, before, if you ask, can I take a month off and work from home half the time, they'll say no. But now it's a possibility because we've been working for like almost a year. Online, so that opens all those kind of
I guess
doors.
that's what everybody is hoping for, that there is a bit more flexibility for the artists, because we've never had that, and it would be really nice to have that and get paid.
Yeah, great. I honestly feel work from home is great. Like when the first time they said you're gonna work from home, I was like, what? Work from home? Is that even possible in our department? So in March, like this year, March, that is when Universal said, okay, dream workers, go and work from home. And I'm like, how do we do that? But then I was super happy. But then, honestly, it's been 7 months now, right? 7-8 months now we are working from home. I would say there are pros and cons of it. Like if you're in a show which is running really good, you know what it's to be done, probably it's easier. But if you're starting a new show, if you're trying to learn new stuff, if you're trying to you joined a new company or
or
stuff
joining
like
a new place, will be
joining a new place,
tricky.
joining a new project, joining anything new, it's difficult. Because it's way more easier to communicate in person than to do VC calls, especially if things are new to you. So I would say it has pros and cons. To me, the ideal situation would be if I had an option of working from home, maybe 3 days and 2 days at work. That would be best, because I have best of both in that way. But other than that, tech-wise, I guess the studios all around the world have done a brilliant job of setting it up at home for all the artists.
Rapidly as well.
Rapidly, yeah. like overnight. That was a great job. Everyone, like each and every VFX and animation studio did a fabulous job in that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Pramita. When I was working, I guess I started at ILM the last 3 months, really. Before that, I was at DNEG, and I built everything, and I was very comfortable. And working on home was great because I knew exactly what to do. It was cool. And then I come to ILM, and the onboarding I really have been struggling a little bit with that because there's this sense of like when you're in the office and you're learning something new, especially proprietary software. You're like stuck in a problem. Like you can just look around and see who's like, time passing or faffing around, and they're like, hey, can you help me with this? But over here, you literally have to book an appointment with someone throughout their schedule and kind of wait for them to show up to come and help you. Or you have to write something in the public chat and hope like, somebody has seen it and is going to help you. So that onboarding part has been hard for sure. And I think besides that, like I definitely don't, I enjoy, for example, putting a render, or if there's a pipeline fix, let's say that only comes at like the end of the day at 6, I don't have to stay back in the office for that come through and then kick off a render. I can be like, yeah, just let me know when it's done and I'll just go make dinner and I'll play with my dog, come back. Oh, okay, there it is. Overnight render, go to sleep. It's great. Like I think our industry is very suited for working.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I guess the personal time with friends, family, and your self-care and food and homemaking and all of that, that is way easier when you're working from home. That's for sure.
Yeah, and to be respectful of your time, we have like 2 minutes left, so I think I will ask our last question to wrap up, which is, what was your favorite character or film that you worked on?
Good question.
You start, Pramita.
Okay. Well, are we allowed to say just one?
Then you can say as many as you want.
Yeah, as many as you.
And also, just like a little added question from me is, when, like, if you made a character, did you buy the plush if there was a plush and be like, oh?
So when you ask this question, is it about working on that character like anyhow in the movie, or it's about building the asset?
Just the character. Yeah, just like if you worked on,
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, for me, I loved working in Wonder Woman. I loved it. I loved that little girl. I'm not going to say much about it because the movie's released, but yeah, I loved working for that. And then if I go back, I actually loved everything. I loved Penguins. I loved Boss Baby. I loved Croods. Croods was amazing. Like all the characters in Croods, I just loved working with them all. So I cannot really say like my favorite character in the movie because it's hard to say like that. It's rather for me, the movie experience. How was it? I can say that. Like probably Croods was a brilliant experience for me. Wonder Woman was a challenging experience for me. So it's just like this. A single character, it's hard to say, honestly. Yeah. But if you still ask me, my favorite character is Toothless. And that is one movie which I never got to work. Like when there was a third part, DreamWorks shut down in India. So there's the opportunity. And when I came to DreamWorks, third part was already done and released. And that is the last part. Yeah. That's odd. But yeah, I love Toothless. My favorite character from all times. That's it.
I mean, for me, it's like asking which is your favorite child. So I don't have an answer. Everything that I get, I just love it. Like I almost have a very creepy maternal feeling towards my asset. I was like, oh, it's my baby. I have to make it nice. But to be honest with you, it's like Pramita said, it isn't so much about the character that you work on. Because you can always be working on, you might not even get a whole character to work. I might be working on percentages of it. So it's more about the experience on that show. Like, how were you? How was management? Like, did you have a good time? It's really the environment and your experience of working every day on that show that decides whether, you liked it or not. So if I were to pick something like that, I think I really did enjoy working at, when I worked briefly at Frame Store TV, I worked on this TV show called The Terror. AMC's The Terror, and there was this monster in there. And it was the first time I was allowed to just be on my own and build a muscle simulation all the way from scratch. And that was amazing. So I really enjoyed that.
That's great.
For me, I think I love Eeyore from Christopher Robin. So I already had the plush, and then I got to build the asset for his cloth, and it was in Qualoth, just for Pramita. So I used Qualoth first time outside of DreamWorks, it's a cloth solver. So yeah, that stayed my favorite. Movie wise, I think I would pick How to Train Your Dragon, the second part, because it was a beautiful movie, and happy to have worked and led the show from India.
Yes.
That's so awesome. Well, thank you all so much for being here with our with Asian Queens in Animation for our panel and our first panel. And I'm so honored that you were the first ones. And we are already like over time, so to be respectful of your time, I want to thank everyone for watching and everyone viewing right now. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I hope you learned something, and I hope you are inspired and motivated by these three amazing artists. And is there a way that you would like, if someone's interested in a career, to connect with you?
Yeah, sure.
Yes,
Like
absolutely.
LinkedIn or, anywhere. LinkedIn is probably the best option,
Yeah.
but
You do have my LinkedIn handle, so
Yeah.
feel free to pass that.
So awesome. And everybody also remember to put a note when you LinkedIn request, just so they know that you came from here.
Yeah.
It's always helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes
But
sense.
awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And thank you to our wonderful panelists for being here today. And yeah, it's a wrap on our first panel and wrap on character effects. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mansi.
Yeah.
last thing I'll say, thank you, Mansi, because this
Yeah.
is a very good initiative,
Yeah.
honestly. So
Yeah.
good job on that, and hope you get a lot of success with this community.
Yeah.
Basically,
Good luck.
a lot of women.
Thank you. And yes, so thank you.
Bye.
And I will stop the live stream. And
Okay.
yeah,
Thanks.
thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.